So for the 38th lesson of class, we explored the philosophy of pragmatism. Now, the first question many of you are going to be asking, what is pragmatism? Now, pragmatism is defined as a philosophical thought process that states that an ideology or proposition is true if it works satisfactorily. In other words, the meaning of a proposition is to be found in the practical consequences of accepting it, and that unpractical ideas are to be rejected. And growing up in the 80s, I see a lot of the world in Calvin and Hobbes, and here's Calvin saying, some people are pragmatists, taking things as they come and making the best of the choices available. That's actually a pretty good description of pragmatism. Now, pragmatism is a uniquely American philosophy. Now, this philosophical school began here in the United States, and the three philosophers who are considered the pioneers in this way of thinking are Charles Sanders Peirce, William James, and John Dewey. Now, John Dewey, many of you don't know this, is chiefly responsible for American schools being structured as they are. In fact, the traditional American school of today is very similar to the time of John Dewey with the rows and the way we do business. But it's a very pragmatic way of disseminating information to students. So pragmatism has varying connotations in different fields. So what's pragmatic in one field may not be pragmatic in another field. And we're not going to get too deep into that, but an individual is considered pragmatic when they logically and efficiently solve problems using the resources that are available to them. And you can see very tangible practical applications. You can see more philosophical, maybe more theoretical applications. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to get into some real black and white applications of pragmatic thought. So let's use our pragmatic brains and give the phones a break. So please, 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 to do these exercises with a phone really defeats the purpose. And we're starting off with Sudoku. Now, Sudoku is pure logic, just to kind of warm up the brains, and just not going to give you ones that are too difficult, just to get you going. And then we worked on some basic drills, reviewing premises and conclusions and diagramming syllogisms. Again, we're warming up. And then we're going to build up to the three wise men drill, and most people can get that. And then I hit you with the big challenge. Then I hit you with something known as Einstein's riddle, and you're going to need an explanation for this one. I know I need an explanation for this one, and I'm actually going to use one of my best students of all time's work to show you this. So here's the opposite of what I want you to do. Penguins are black and white. Some old TV shows are black and white. Therefore, some penguins are old TV shows. Okay, that's the opposite of this. So anyway, Einstein's riddle, the most difficult thing I'm going to throw at you probably all semester. Now, it's not actually substantiated whether Einstein devised this riddle, but it's still a fantastic pragmatic exercise. Now, just as a little bit of an aside, when the internet gets a hold of something, it becomes true in the minds of the people, even if it's not actually true. So recall our past discussions on authenticity. So the internet calls it Einstein's riddle. It's Einstein's riddle. Now, whether you can solve it or not, that's another story. And Einstein's riddle is the following. There are 5 houses in 5 different colors. In each house lives a person with a different nationality. These 5 owners drink a certain type of beverage, smoke a certain type of cigar, and keep a certain type of pet. No owners have the same pet, smoke the same brand of cigar, or drink the same beverage. The question is, who owns the fish? And then it provides you with a bunch of hints. The Brit lives in the red house, the Swede keeps dogs as a pet, and so on and so forth. Now, if you were going to try to do this in your head, good luck. Good luck. I mean, you're a genius if you can do that. I certainly can't come anywhere near doing that in my head. That's a brain melter. So how do you go about solving this very difficult riddle? Well, you use pragmatic thought processes. So this is the work of my student Gray, wonderful student, wonderful individual, and I thank you for doing this. And I'm sharing with you what he came up with. And he was the quickest in class history to ever solve this. And he came up with this. So here's his Einstein riddle explained. Now first, you're going to want to make a table like this. Color, nationality, beverage, cigar, pet. Now that you can visualize it, it's time to begin. Like in mathematical proofs, you're always started with givens. Okay, from the 15 hints, these include the man living in the center house drinks milk, The Norwegian lives in the first house. The Norwegian lives next to the blue house. Again, this isn't helping, but then you go deeper. Now, these parts are arbitrary. These are just his work sectioned just to break it down. So at this point, you have a few items here. Now that we have those, we can begin to deduce the rest. Now, don't get discouraged because you have so little information. You actually have just enough to figure it out with each step. Understanding the order of the colors helps a lot, keeping everything straight, and it requires the least amount of information to figure it out. Now, the green house is on the left of the white house. Knowing that you must put two colors next to each other, it eliminates the possibility of green being house 1, house 2, or house 5. But that still leaves the choice between house 3 and house 4. But we actually know key information, what the owner of the greenhouse drinks. The greenhouse's owner drinks coffee. Because we know the owner of the greenhouse must drink coffee, he cannot live in house 3 because the owner of house 3 drinks milk. Therefore, house 4 is a given. Okay, and we're building up. We're building up. Now, this is the third part of Gray's work. This leaves us with two colors, red and yellow. The Brit lives in the red house, and the owner of the yellow house smokes Dunhill. Because we know the owner of the red house must be a Brit, he can't live in house 1. That leaves house 1 as yellow. Because the hint gives us a lead, meaning if we find the first piece of information, another piece is given to us, like a domino effect, we know that the owner of house 1 smokes Dunhill. This was also seen with the green plus coffee hint, and will show up again. The man who keeps horses lives next to the man who smokes Dunhill. So at this point, we are adding some things. Okay, we are adding the colors, and we're adding it. Okay, now let's look at the category we have the most information about, beverages. Now the fourth part, the Dane drinks tea. The owner who smokes Blue Master drinks beer. The man who smokes blend has a neighbor who drinks water. We know that tea, beer, and water have to fit in some place, and there's a lot of possibilities. But the hints also give us the information we need to know that makes them false or invalid. Take house 1 and isolate it. We already know they can't drink milk or coffee because those two choices are already taken. But we also know, because they're Norwegian and not the Dane, they can't drink tea. And because they smoke Dunhill and not Blue Master, they cannot drink beer. This logically concludes that house 1 drinks water. Because we know house 2 smokes blend, they can't drink beer because that requires them to smoke Blue Master, which means house 2 is the Dane that drinks the tea. So you can see what Gray's doing here. With the information, deducing things and filling in the chart, filling in the graphic organizer as you go. And as you can see, we're nearing the end. Although we know who smokes blend, we don't know for certain which of their neighbors owns cats. So let's move on and find out who lives where before we figure that out. Part 5. The German smokes Prince. The Swede keeps dogs as a pet. Well, the only house open that fits German smoking Prince is house 4. That leaves the Swede to live in house 5 where he keeps the dogs. Again, filling in the graphic organizer a little piece at a time. All that's left is the cigar column to figure out who owns the bird. Now we know that the remaining cigar, Pall Mall, belongs to the owner of house 3. The person who smokes Pall Mall rears birds. And now we know the birds belong to the same house. Because of that, we know for certain which of houses 3's neighbor owns a cat. Final step. You plug in everything and you can find out who who has the fish. And this is a process. Now, when I give this out, I would venture to say maybe a class of 30, maybe 4 or 5 can do it. But in time, and I've had some students work very hard and very long to figure it out, being pragmatic, if you will, to solve this. And you can take this, the end, and go all the way back to the beginning to go through this to who owns the fish. And I think Gray did a very nice job in his work. This is all his work. This is none of mine. I don't want to plagiarize anything. And that's how he solved the mystery. So anyway, to wrap up class, in lieu of a journal entry, I want you to write your graphic, show me your graphic organizers and notes along with your solutions. You know, I get to act like a math teacher and for once and show you all your work because I'm just seeing how pragmatic you are, how you work together in groups. So there's nothing I really need you to reflect upon. I'm going to give you credit for doing your best work. And I think you can see the applications of pragmatic thought, and there's a time and a place for it. And for you left brain analytical people, you're welcome. And for my expressive right brain types, I'm sorry, I'm with you. I would struggle very much with these things, certainly in high school. But I appreciate everybody giving their full effort, and thank you for watching.